Okay. Today I'm going to talk about a primary source called Exhortation to the Study of the Arts. This presentation is divided into 4 main sections. First, I will introduce the primary source. Next, I will explain who Galen was and how reliable I think he was as a source about why someone would want to become a gladiator. Third, I will explain what he wrote and the evidence that we think is important. And lastly, I'm going to talk about the historical context that is important in understanding this source. So, to start with, this primary source is called Exhortation to the Study of the Arts. It was written by Galen, who is a doctor. He wrote it to convince people to choose a job that is both respectable and healthy. Now, we only read a short part of what Galen wrote. The actual text is much longer. The part that we read is about the disadvantages of becoming a gladiator. So in other words, he did not encourage people to become a gladiator because he didn't think it was a healthy or a respectable job. Okay, moving on to the next section. I would like to explain who Galen was and how reliable we think he was as a source. Now, let me remind you that we're trying to decide why someone would want to become a gladiator, so I'm only thinking about him as a source for that question. Now, as you can see in the diagram here, Galen was a doctor for gladiators during the Roman Empire. Now, as a doctor, Galen would likely have had significant experience working with gladiators. And because of this close relationship, Galen is a good source for explaining any benefits of becoming a gladiator. This diagram also shows you that Galen had a very specific purpose. His purpose was to convince people to choose a healthy and a respectable profession. Now, as we know, gladiators had a very low social status, and they also had a very dangerous job. As a result, we expect Galen to write very negatively about gladiators. So because of this purpose, we do not believe that Galen's account is entirely reliable. Okay, so in conclusion, Galen is a mixed source in terms of reliability. He likely only focuses on the negative side of becoming a gladiator, but despite this likely negativity, he still has useful information about the possible benefits and drawbacks of becoming a gladiator. Okay, let's move on to close reading. This source explains the disadvantages of becoming a gladiator, which confirms our prediction that we made when we were evaluating his reliability. If you look at the bold parts, you can see some of the disadvantages, including becoming stupid, dying early, becoming overdeveloped, and becoming deformed. These disadvantages all seem to be physical disadvantages. So finally, let's move on to historical context. If you look at this chart, you can see the Roman social hierarchy. As you can see, gladiators had the same social status as slaves. Now, because of this social status, people did not value or respect gladiators. This historical context also demonstrates perhaps why Galen thought that becoming a gladiator was not a healthy or a respectable profession. Not only was it physically dangerous, like he pointed out in the text, but it also hurt the gladiator's social status. So as a result, we think that Galen discouraged people from becoming gladiators for 2 reasons: physical danger and the shame of the gladiator's low social status. So to sum up the main points, Galen was a doctor who wrote about choosing a profession. He did not think people should become gladiators, so he wrote very negatively about them.